All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining today, and welcome to ETH Miami. Welcome to Road to ETH Miami, sponsored by QuickNode. ETH Miami is a community event for developers, researchers, builders, and the Ethereum Web3 ecosystem. The goal is to invite as many creators and developers to join our hackathon October 27th through October 29th. ethmiami.net. Please make sure to sign up and register, and to make sure to come out and have a great time. Again, that's October 27th through October 29th. And for everybody who don't know me, my name is Sheena Johns. I am the team lead and core contributor here at ETH Miami. And for our third interview, we actually have Michelle here, who is a co-organizer of React Miami. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Sheena. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having
Nice
me.
to Yes, of course. Thank you for joining, and it's great to meet you as well. So I guess we will jump right into our series today, and we'll start off by talking about a little bit about yourself, Michelle, and how you got involved in React, and then we'll talk about what React is and some of the events that are coming up for this month.
Okay, awesome. Sure. So, my name is Michelle Bakels, as you mentioned, co-organizer of React Miami, also program director for developer health at G2I, where I work on initiatives to support the mental and physical health of developers. I'm a developer myself. I probably learned how to code about 7 to 8 years ago. I was trying to remember this morning too, and about then, I was, like born and raised South Floridian, so learning how to code here, it was hard to find a tech community at that time. It's not anything like it is today. At that time, it wasn't anything like it was today. And so there was a small community up where I am in Palm Beach County called Palm Beach Tech that was getting started. So I just kind of clinged on to them. And they helped connect me to a tutor and a mentor while I was doing my computer science degree. And I just got to work on a lot of events with them, which was really kind of the introduction of working in community. And ever since then, there's just been so many other organizations that I've worked with. They're supported, and it's just been really exciting to see the community grow. With React in particular, I started working in React when I got my first job at NextEra Energy, which is the parent company for Florida Power and Light. And ever since then, I've just been in love with it and have found so many interesting things in the front end development world and the web development world.
That's awesome. And I guess, can you tell us what React is, and we can kind of jump down a rabbit hole into React?
Sure. So, React is a front end web framework for user interfaces that was built by Facebook, and it's meant to be used with JavaScript. So, this library or framework, however you like to look at it, is wildly popular. It has absolutely proliferated the web development world over the last several years, and it really tends to be the go-to tool for a lot of companies, and a lot of our biggest apps and most well-known technologies today are built in React, or if it's a mobile app, React Native. So obviously, Facebook and Instagram are built in React, but also Twitter, Uber, Tesla has technologies in React, and the list just goes on and on.
And can you tell us when you talk about React, can you go into React Miami, and what does it stand for, the Miami tech community?
Yeah, so um, React Miami is this conference that, as a software developer myself, I've gone to these conferences and seen these like world class software developer conferences with like these amazing speakers and incredible information, and I felt like, and when we were having like our tech boom in 2020 in South Florida, there was a real opportunity to bring an event like that, a developer focused event to South Florida. Um, just to be completely honest, like, I mean, South Florida definitely has a long way to go to catch up on the developer side of what we have in our tech community. And I think acknowledging that and recognizing that is really important to be able to like actually build that up more and have more people in our community learn how to code and then also attract talent. So React Miami was kind of the way to do both, like bring together the developers that were already here in South Florida and then bring together also developers from around the world to see what the Miami tech community is like and what, you know, being a developer in Miami looks like.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know recently, just with a lot of conferences and Web3 spaces going on, there's a lot of talk just in what can conferences do now that will definitely attract the users and the developers to actually attend and show up, and for it to be very exciting and for it to be very engaging and not just speakers and webinars that you just have to sit through. There has to be some type of social experience for developers to want to keep coming back. So how do you think React Miami is able to do such a great job with continuously getting developers to show up and for them to be exciting developers that want to hack or work on new projects or continuously learning here in Miami?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, there's part of developers that are always wanting to learn. Um, Obviously, like you're just never done learning. But going to conferences is an interesting decision for developers because we really can learn everything that we want online. So, coming together as a community to learn together is definitely a decision based around networking and meeting people. So what we try and do is, I mean, for the people that don't live in South Florida, coming to Miami is usually a very compelling reason to join the conference because it's a world-class destination. So usually I don't really have to twist too many arms to get speakers to want to come down here. But yeah, like as far as like the other attendees and our locals, um, you know, we try and one thing for sure is that we try and like integrate the local Miami tech scene as much as possible, which is a very vibrant community of people who I believe exemplify, um, you know, connecting with each other and helping each other. And I think that attitude and that mindset really comes through in the conference because, you know, we're hosted within Emerge Americas. So we have the whole Emerge Americas crew there with us, and everything that they bring to the table. We're on South Beach. So, you know, it's just one of the places that I think everybody coming in from out of town will want to be anyway. And then we do our events at various locations around the area so that people can see more than just the convention center. I've gone to conferences that are great, but you fly into a city that you've never been to before. You go to the conference location and then you fly out and you've been to this
That's
city and
it.
you
You're
actually
like,
have no idea anything
yeah.
about this place. So we
Yeah,
try
you
and
got
really bring in Miami as much as possible too.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you fly in and fly out. You're like, wait a minute, I visit that state, but did I really didn't
Can
do
I
any
say that
type
I
of
really went to this city?
yeah. That's right. That's right. That's awesome. So I wanted to touch point on one of the comment that you made, going from Palm Beach and actually having a mentor to help you branch into a bigger tech community. My question would for you would be, there are so many other tech people out there, tech students, people who have learned online. What would be some other ways besides mentors to get into or jump into the tech space locally here in Miami?
Well, there's there's just so many ways to get involved in tech. I think probably your mindset and your initiative is like the first key component. And this is even true for mentorship as well. When people ask, like, how do I find a mentor? It's like, well, what are you looking for? So it's, I think, kind of like having some idea of what you want and knowing um, what what you're looking for, or like where do you want this industry to take you, is really important before deciding on like what you want to do with that. But of course, like you mentioned, there's mentorship, but also there's a lot of meetups happening. So there's so many tech events that happen, especially coming into April. This whole month is just going to be like wall to wall tech events,
Mhm. Yes.
which can be like, yeah, it can be like a little bit overwhelming. So you also don't want to like burn yourself out. There's a website, miamitechmonth.com, that has a lot of the events that are happening. And I think it would be a good idea to probably go through that, find which events you think would be most aligned with your goals and what you're trying to do, and have the people that you want to meet there. And just make sure to go to those more than anything else. And then I think also, like, asynchronously, like, Miami Tech Twitter is like huge, like connecting into Miami Tech Twitter, is really beneficial. And then there's also Telegram groups and Slacks as well that I think are good ways in if you can't necessarily go to events.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, that was actually how I found my tech community, is by going to random tech meetups and just meeting
Yeah.
people, networking. Obviously, it's if it was for me to find my community, like I had to put myself out there and really
Mhm.
show up for the community, and then also be engaging and be willing to talk to others. I mean, it's definitely a way to get invited to other larger communities, which is great. So,
Oh, you're
um,
totally right. And I think probably the less embedded that you are, or like the newer you are into the scene, probably the more important it is to kind of like keep showing up regularly, because people are just going to remember you more and more. And even if you haven't necessarily met that person that you're looking for, they may know them. And when it comes up in a conversation, they'll be like, "Oh, wait, have you met Sheena? Because I've seen her
yeah,
at a few events, and you should get in touch with her."
yep, yep. And then all of a sudden, people who know other people. You're like,
Yep.
hey, have you met them at the other event? It's like a
Mhm.
vibe circle check. So, that's great. So I also wanted to ask, in terms of React Miami, can you tell me about G2I and JS World Conferences?
Yeah, absolutely. So, G2I is basically like a recruiting business, but we focus specifically on React, and we do the technical interviews and vetting of React and React Native developers. And then we help place them in the companies of our clients. So, one thing that is really hard for a lot of companies to do is technical interviews. And it's very time consuming. So, we basically say, like, we have these developers who are already, like, we can vouch for their skills to this level. And, if you hire them on a job, they can get going. So that's the premise of G2I. I obviously work on developer health there, like I mentioned. So G2I is very adamant about um, helping support the health of our developers and making sure that they don't burn out, and that they have the resources to be well if they need it. So, also, the founder of G2I is based in South Florida. We're global remote, but myself and the founder are based here. And so he actually tweeted that when this Miami tech boom was happening, he tweeted like, somebody should do a React conference in Miami, and I already bought reactmiami.com. And then, like, at the same time, I'm like, I was just thinking the same thing. I reached out to him, like, I was like, we should do it. And he was like, I kind of am convinced somebody else should do it, but I was like, no, we're doing this. Like, we're the locals, we should do it. And
Yeah.
so we're not conference organizers, so we got a bunch of recommendations from people in the industry, like who would be really good to team up with on this. And we interviewed a bunch of conference organizers, many of which are great. But we landed on JS World Conference with them being, these amazing organizers in Europe. They run some of the biggest conferences in Europe for JavaScript. And they were looking to explore the US market at the same time as we were looking for
Oh,
co-organizers.
that's
And so it was
perfect.
just like perfect timing. But
Yeah.
yeah, they put on in Amsterdam JS World Conference, VueConf, ReactConf, like React Live, I think it's called. They just do a great job.
Awesome. That's awesome. So I guess that is safe to say that that is what helps bring so many international or so many a diverse group of people into React. I guess can you talk a little bit more about that experience? Because I know in terms of different conferences, when you talk about small city conferences, there may be a large group of your community that shows up, but to get international is definitely a stretch. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that turned out, I guess, last year and what you're looking forward to this year as well?
Yeah, the getting the international, I mean, I will say I was a bit surprised by how many attendees come from outside of the United States or even outside of Florida. Um, s- and I think we're all kind of surprised about it. I think there's a huge appeal to Miami that, like, sometimes even as a South Floridian, you forget just like how amazing this city looks from the outside in. And so, I think when people are looking at like which conferences they want to go to, a lot of times their companies send them.
Mhm.
And so when people are looking at all of the options available, they were like, oh, wait, you can go to Miami. Like, so I think a lot of people kind of
First
like
choice,
decide
yeah.
there. But yeah, absolutely. Partnering JS World, they have like a huge footprint in Europe, so they can do a lot of promotion there too. And when they run their conferences in Europe, they do these intermissions that show, the React Miami promo reel. And so, yeah, I think it's like a combination of both.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I'd like to you can talk a little bit more about the React Miami that's coming up at the end of this month.
Sure. So we're doing our second year. It will be April 20th and 21st, and it's partnering with Emerge Americas. So we are a separate conference from Emerge Americas. We do our ticketing separately, and we have separate attendees and everything. But since we're in the Miami Beach Convention Center with Emerge, they provide tickets to their event for all of our attendees. Obviously, we're 500 attendees. They're 200,000, I think. So it can't work the other way around. We don't have the space, but
Yeah.
all of our attendees can see Emerge Americas as well and explore that. We're going to have a really awesome opening kickoff party with the React documentary screening at the Rooftop Cinema Club in Miami Beach, which is going to be really cool because we have the documentary filmmaker there and some of the, like, one of the real pioneers of React that was in the documentary there as well for Q&A, along with like a former core team member and a prolific web developer in the community. So that's going to be a really great Q&A. And, then 2 days of just amazing, amazing talks covering everything for a React web developer today. And then we will end it with an after party on the beach at a hotel that's on the beach, which is going to be just, I think, phenomenal.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a ending party at the beach? That's like
I
perfect.
know. Even I want that. Like, I mean, again, born and raised here, and I'm never going to turn away a beach party. Like, that's so fun.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny that, living in Miami, you don't go to the beach every single day. So any chance to go over to the beach is always great. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you in terms of just React developers or just React in general. When you talk about like different type of like technical workshops or different ways where people who are not React savvy can get involved. I know there are tools like Scaffold and some other tools that you can use to kind of start jump some applications. But can you kind of talk about what ways that some people who are not React savvy can also enjoy the hackathon?
Yeah, so I mean, learning how to be a React developer or learning React, there's like you said, there's for different coding paradigms or types of applications that you want to build. There seem to be these kind of like ways to kind of like jump in and figure out what you're doing. For React, since it's so prolific and it's been around for a long time comparatively in tech, there's just so many tutorials, so much information out there to get started. Um, it's hard to put like a one size fits all because it kind of depends on people's like learning preferences.
Mhm.
Udemy is obviously a great site that has great tutorials, and I personally am like very uh like drawn to Udemy. It just like really works well for my learning style. But the React core team really just released this officially like new documentation that is incredible. So not a lot of tools and technology. You can say like the best place to start is the docs, but
Yeah,
now React actually has like really great docs that I think is really beginner friendly too. So I think like finding maybe a course online or the React docs is probably what I would say is my recommendation. That with React being like so prolific and embedded, it's like also there's like another side of that coin where some of the stuff that you may find is like a little bit outdated or not super relevant. So I would also say whatever you find, just check the date on it and make sure it was made in like the last year or two, or
yeah.
then go from there.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for that. And I always like to ask for resources for people who are not as tech savvy. So by the time it is October, that they would at least have some type of resources that they've been able to utilize and use when it comes to developing any type of project during a hackathon. And then, over the next course of the next couple of months, we like to really give out some tools that will help any developer to be able to launch their project once it comes through in October. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anything that you'd like to add or maybe talk about?
There's not really. I mean, there's 1,000 things I think going through my mind at all times, but for the sake of this, um, I would say that we really did get to talk about a lot of things. And so, yeah, if anyone watching is interested in React Miami, our website is reactmiami.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram at React Miami Conf, and my name is Michelle Bakels. My Twitter handle is just my first and last name put together, and my DMs are open. So if you have questions about the conference, you can either DM the conference Twitter or my Twitter, and we'll try and get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing everybody at the React conference. And also, don't forget to register for our hackathon October 27th through the 29th. ETHmiami.net to register. And again, thanks everybody for joining today. Thank you again, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.